Weekly Rewind.
You know what? Some of my favorite comments on Twitter are the people that get mad at me for moving the show along.
How dare you, Andy?
They're always like, get your eyes off the watch. I'm like, how long would this show be? You have to move on. This is why we do more than one show. It would just be an everlasting episode. All right, we got some news. We're going to go through some of the things that have happened. We're getting buzzed all the time with coaching changes, right? Things are going on in the NFL that are going to impact your fantasy players for next year.
And we are recording Monday afternoon. So there could be more coaching changes after we are done recording.
Yeah, that's a worthy point. We record Monday afternoon so that we can release as early as possible on Tuesday morning for commutes and things like that. So, coaching changes. I'll try to consolidate these a little bit. You guys tell me anything that you want to, fantasy-wise, implications, things like that. Mike McCoy is going to stay head coach of the San Diego Chargers. They have relieved Frank Reich of the offensive coordinator duty.
Yeah, I think this is great. I did not believe that McCoy should be let go. He's coming off of some very good seasons, and a lot
of injuries.
Injuries were out of control.
Half of the Chargers
offensive
were
line problems.
So, and Phillip Rivers, everybody had left Phillip Rivers for dead. I mean, Phillip Rivers was awesome. He was a fantasy superstar. Then he hit a year or two where he just fell off the map, and then Mike McCoy came back and kind of resurged his career. So I think this is the right move for San Diego. We'll see who gets to come in and play and call plays. But as far as fantasy-wise, I think it's great for Phillip Rivers that you can keep McCoy there, who has a strong offensive mind. So I love it for Rivers.
All right, you also had some other coaches say farewell. We've talked about Chip Kelly on the show. Yes. You have Mike Pettine's going to be gone, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they're gone. They've already cleaned house in Cleveland.
Right, and because Farmer's gone too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's every other year.
Right. It's on point. Tom Coughlin, no more.
Oh.
Yeah, he resigned.
He's one of my favorite coaches.
Wink, wink, wink. He resigned.
Yeah, but he's not retired. He still maybe would like to coach again.
How about you give him his due? How about that?
He wasn't fired.
Why don't you give a two-time world champion his due?
Hey, I actually think he's a good coach. I think that another team would be smart to grab him, but I don't blame the Giants for moving on from him. That being said, you're going to have a lot of questions fantasy-wise, depending on who they hire, trying to see what are the implications. I prefer, just like you were saying with the Chargers, I prefer when teams stay the same. When there's changes, sometimes what we see is you get too much excitement. You let's say they go out and they hire an offensive minded head coach, and we're going to elevate Eli or some of those guys probably too high and make mistakes in that. I prefer when a team has been rolling and they've got consistency and the coaching isn't changing or players who have been there for a long time and not changing teams. I think consistency is important in the NFL.
I would really hope they bring a defensive guy in and you let Bob McAdoo just do what you're doing, man, because our offense is pretty good, especially even the last few weeks when they got a running game going. But with McAdoo, his career has also resurged. These are some of the best years that Eli's ever put up. So hopefully they leave him alone and they just bring a guy who can fix the defense.
There have been, over the last 4 years, 22 head coaching changes. That's a lot.
Over the last what?
4 years.
Okay.
Over the last 4 years. And you do have situations that I'm paying closer attention to than others, particularly what Drew Brees and his situation with his coach. Is Sean Payton going to be gone or not? And then the situation in Indianapolis, because you had a juggernaut fantasy offense with Hilton, with obviously Andrew Luck, and what they do there. Those are two situations I'm paying close attention to. And obviously where Chip Kelly lands, you do have a certain amount of just offensive plays that are going to be run, a system that's going to be put into place. That will be something interesting to monitor throughout the season. So
Jim Tomsula is also out. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right.
So
and it sounds
he was set up to fail. We've talked about that.
Yeah, Tomsula, poor guy. I mean, there was not much he could do. And the last I heard, the rumorville out of the Saints is that Sean Payton would be available for a second-round pick.
Yeah. And that he's been given, permission to talk to other teams?
I hadn't heard that part.
I saw that as well. So those will be interesting situations. In terms of other news of relevance, Gary Kubiak has declined to name his playoff starter. This speaks to what Jason said this weekend, where he thought it was more of a controversial situation.
It's not controversy. It's going to be Peyton Manning. But I do think it's entertaining going into they're the number 1 seed.
Sure.
And you don't know
You
who the
named a starter
quarterback
quarterback.
is.
So is it too bold to ask you guys to give me NFC and AFC predictions on the show right now?
We can do it.
Because
All
the
right.
playoffs are established. This week we got the Seahawks at the Vikings, the Packers at the Redskins, the Chiefs at Houston, right, at the Texans, and then the Steelers at the Bengals this week, and then Carolina, Arizona, New England, and Denver are waiting. So who do you believe will represent the AFC and the NFC and then ultimately win the Super Bowl? Because it'd be nice to have these on, documented here.
The AFC, my heart.
I'm going to write these down.
My heart really, really hopes the Chiefs or Houston makes it because I like to see funny stuff happen like that.
That's funny stuff.
Funny's the wrong word, but it's a lower seed team who no one thinks has a chance.
Sure.
But my pick is the Broncos. I'm going with Denver. I think the defense is just too great, and Peyton Manning looked okay. I know it's only a very, very small sample size, and Manning has many flags upon him.
And I didn't know you had the Broncos. That I feel like you've stolen my pick.
we don't have to have separate picks.
No, we don't. And I agree with you. My pick is the Broncos. The Broncos are behind Arizona, Carolina, and New England. In Vegas, they are 5-1 favorites to make the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, to win it. So I'm actually taking the Broncos out of the AFC as well.
Well, I'll give my AFC pick then. I'm going to go with Superman, which is just basically going with the tried and true Patriots.
Superman's in the NFC.
Well, sure. I will actually be going that way on the NFC as
So
well.
yeah, give me your NFC as well.
Well, it's going to be Carolina against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I think that Carolina's team has shown on both sides of the ball to be unstoppable. They've got the home field advantage through, so I've got to pick them as the favorite. And in the AFC, you just have too much experience and too much desperate desire to stick it to the NFL and win a Super Bowl this year from the Patriots.
Since last year wasn't good enough.
Correct.
So who's your Super Bowl?
About
who's your
salty.
Super Bowl champ?
My Super Bowl champ will
he's on
be
the spot.
the Carolina Panthers.
Ooh.
All right, Mike, who's your NFC?
NFC, I think that Seattle will run through a couple matches. They will play the Cardinals in the NFC title game, and Seattle will win.
Oh!
And Seattle will go to the Super Bowl. And,
Broncos or Seattle?
And then in the Super Bowl, I will take Seattle.
That's so painful.
I know, it
So
sucks.
painful. I was actually going to say I'll just be we need one homer on the show.
Yeah.
So I'll just
thank
go ahead
you.
and take the Arizona Cardinals.
Yes.
I do believe the Cardinals are set up to have a very good playoff run because they have the bye, and then they're going to essentially get Minnesota. They cannot get Seattle, so they'll get Minnesota, Washington,
Or Green Bay.
or Green Bay. And so that home game, I think they'll win it, and then they'll face probably Seattle or Carolina in that title game. And because they'll be at home against Seattle, I'll give Bruce Arians credit for preparation for that game, and I'll take Arizona.
I like it. I like
There we
where
go.
your head is at more than mine.
We got Seattle, Arizona, and Carolina because I've always said this, and Jason and I used to do this in basketball. When you make predictions and you don't predict your home team, the regret that you would feel if they finally won.
I'll be zero.
I'll be the homer. No, you won't feel any.
No.
Yeah, it hurts. Seattle's playing great. I got to give them credit.